Thousands of protesters are expected to be on the streets of Rome today as the Italian Senate begins debating a revised austerity plan. Well, joining us to talk about Italy's problems and the wider sovereign debt crisis is Joergen Moeller, who's former Danish foreign minister, who's now at the Institute of Southeast Asian Studies in Singapore. Joergen, great. Thank you very much for being with us. Tell us how worrying the situation is in Italy.
Well, obviously there are problems, but despite these problems, I remain fairly optimistic about the future of the Eurozone. Just give it time to let the austerity measures work their way through the system. If you look at the budget deficits in 2009 for the Eurozone, it was 6.3% of GDP. 2010 it was brought down to 6%. 2011, the year we have now, it will probably be around 4.2%, and next year it's forecast to be 3.6%.
And Joergen?
So the basic, yes?
Well, you make the point that that budget deficit of 4.2% is a lot lower than that in the U.S., which is 9%.
Yeah, well, that's one of the points. The second point is that it is not killing growth. Actually, this year, the Eurozone is expected to have growth around 1.8, 1.9%. Next year, the growth is forecast by IMF to be 1.4%. So Europe is actually addressing the fundamental problems of keeping expenditures inside the limits posed by revenues, which is definitely not the case of the United States. The problems for the Eurozone are also obvious. There are structural imbalances. The southern European countries need definitely to do more to reform their countries, the way their economies work, but just give them some more time. The markets are forcing the issue all the time, which means that the measures are not allowed to work.
Why are the markets forcing the hands of these governments? Why don't the markets believe, as you say, that austerity isn't killing growth and that they are actually dealing with their structural problems? Where's the disconnect?
The markets look for profit. It is like a guided missile homing in on where it can score a profit in the short term. I'm not blaming the market for doing that. That's how the market works, but it should not be allowed to do so. And I'm sure that the Europeans, with the European central banks and the new stability fund to be ratified in a month or two, will make sure it doesn't happen. I'm absolutely convinced that 1, 2, 3 years from now, we will still have the euro. I'm absolutely convinced that growth will be, let's say, okay for Europe, not fantastic. And I'm absolutely sure about the most important thing, and that is that Europe will show the way. You do not spend more money than you earn. And this is a very, very important
message. Yes, but you're talking about a union that includes countries that do spend a lot more than they earn. Just to look at the differences between a country like Greece and a country like Germany. You say you're absolutely convinced that the euro is still going to remain. There's a lot of people that disagree with you on that because of the fundamental differences between these countries and the way they behave.
Yeah, but the Europeans are coming around to a common economic policy, which is actually a German economic policy. If you look at what is happening in Greece, as you mentioned, in 2009, the deficit on the Greek budget was 15%. Last year, it was approximately 10%. This year, it may be between 8.5% and 9%, about that. Next year, it may be around 6%. So it's actually happening. Give it time. Let it work. Don't force the issue.
All right. Joergen Moeller from the Institute of Southeast Asia Studies, former Danish foreign minister. Thanks for being with us.